My next guest is going to be back in action, taking on Edmen Shabazyan UFC Fight Night, August 24th. It's Gerald Meerschaert back here on the program. Gerald, how's it going?
I'm doing great, James. How you been?
I'm doing awesome. It's good to see you back. I know we haven't seen you for a while, but before we get into any of that, we got to talk about your buddy Belal Muhammad winning the UFC title. How cool was that as someone who trained with Belal for years back at Rufus Sport back in the day?
That was so awesome. I'm so proud and happy for him. And not just because I'm his friend, but you look at his body of work, you look at the road he took to get to the belt. There's, no one more deserving. And, that sentiment and sentence couldn't be truer for someone like Belal. He fought everybody he could possibly fight, you know what I mean, to get to where he had to go. And then he showed up against, one of the greatest welterweights to ever do it. There's always a lot of talk. There's a lot of great welterweight champions, but Leon, he's had a really great run himself, and obviously gave Belal a lot of trouble in their first interaction. But he showed up, he showed out, and he looked amazing.
Have you spoken to Belal since he won the title?
Just little messages here and there. I'm sure he's, absolutely flooded with all kinds of people right now. So we'll catch up sometime in the near future, but I'm sure he's got a lot going on.
Yeah, I think he's actually at the time of recording this in Abu Dhabi, because I was talking to Lewis Taylor, and I guess they just sort of did a one hop over there after the fight. But let's talk about you, man. I mentioned it there. We haven't seen you in a while. What has been the reason for the layoff? I know you've been doing some grappling as well, but why haven't we seen you in the MMA cage, or the UFC cage, I should say?
So I was actually supposed to fight on the Australia card.
Okay.
And then it just got moved back a week. Yeah, I don't know. This is when they scheduled me. I did get what was it? I think they tried to give me like a week's notice for the Michelle Pereira fight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was a while ago though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I actually I felt in good shape, but I was like literally getting tattooed as they called me, and I was like, I'd rather not get an awful skin disease, so
Yeah.
I'll have to
Not good
pass
timing.
on that.
Yeah.
And that's a legit tough guy that you want to, make sure that you're training for a fight for and not take lightly. But yeah, other than that, that's just kind of how it went down. So, it's good with me. It's not like a huge layoff, but hopefully I can get this one done and then get one more in the near future.
What did you learn the most from that fight against Andre Petroski?
I can get on the gas a little bit earlier for sure in the first round. Even because we kind of figured that I was waiting for something a little bit more in the first round, and like for him to gas himself out a little bit. And, had I not got caught, that might have been a good game plan, but shit happens in a fight, and I got cracked, and that kind of gave up the second round. And when the first round's real close like that, even if, you're kind of letting just somebody swing themselves out, it still doesn't hurt to like rack up some points and, still take the round without exerting yourself a whole lot, if that makes sense.
Yep, totally get it. Let's talk about Edmen Shabazyan, 13-4 record. How do you feel like stylistically you match up against him? Obviously, he's a striker. You're more of a grappler. You guys are both very well-rounded, though.
Yeah, no, yeah. He wants to keep it. If you look at it on paper, he wants to keep it on the feet. I'm going to have more success on the ground. That being said, he will take guys down. He's got decent power, so he could throw something from on top, or, if I'm not on my P's and Q's, he could try to choke me out or something like that just as easily as I could catch him on the feet. But, I think I have the right idea, the right game plan, and, hopefully I'll go out there, do my thing, and get my hand raised on the 24th.
Does Derek Brunson still train at your gym? Because obviously he fought Edmen and has a bit of insight into him.
He trained with us before his last fight. It was a while ago.
Okay.
But I haven't, I think his home base is in like North Carolina or South Carolina.
Yeah, it's one of the Carolinas. I know that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's not around like that, but obviously all the coaches that were with him for that fight are still at Kill Cliff, and that definitely helps. And we got a lot of good guys in getting ready for fights right now. Brendan's back getting ready for his fight. Aaron Jeffries getting ready for his fight. Yusaku's got a fight a couple weeks before me in the UFC. Impa's getting ready for a fight. So I got no shortage of really high-level partners.
Yeah, and that's one of the luxuries. And how long has it been now that you've been at Kill Cliff? I was trying to remember that because you obviously made the big move, what was it, a couple years ago?
No, actually, I think yeah, was it? I think I've been here for a year
Yeah. Okay.
now.
Yeah. Only a year. Yeah. I was trying to remember that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, but I forget exactly when I made the switch because I did a few camps down here first,
Mhm.
and then I moved down here. So I've been here for a little while, but I've been like full time living here for, I think we moved here in May.
Yeah. And I can tell you've adjusted because of your shirt, right? So you've
Yeah, you
traded
like
in
that?
maybe the flannel and all that stuff in Wisconsin for the nice beaches of Florida, right?
Yeah, no, so now I pretty much dress like a semi-retired tax accountant because the material that these shirts are made out of, I don't sweat through them so easily and
Oh
they're
yeah,
very
I'm at that
breathable.
stage too in my life too, where I value comfort over everything else for sure.
Oh
So
yeah. Well, I can wear a regular cotton tee, but it's going to be very evident that I did not grow up in this climate, and I'm
yeah,
just going to have stains everywhere, and it
yeah.
just makes everybody uncomfortable. So I figured this is the way to go.
No, I like it. It looks good. Weight cut. I know you always make weight, but you're a pretty big guy. I've seen you in person a few times. How's all that going ahead of the fight?
Oh, that's all good. I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm not like the biggest 85er, but I'm not small, and I feel really dense. Like a lot of guys will think that I might not be as big, but then they get a hold of me and they're like, "Oh, you feel like, just really thick and like hard to move around." So that helps. But like I said, I look like I'm a big guy until I go with a big guy. Like we've got some guys in visiting. We got a 205er, um, and I think he walks around like 230 or 240. So anytime someone's like, "Oh, you're in betweener," I go and like grab a hold of that guy, and I'm like, "No, I'm not,
Yeah,
not at all."
yeah. Not even
So
close. Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm not. I'm definitely not small, but middleweight's the right class for me for sure.
Your corner. How will that look in this fight? Who's going to be in the cage with you?
So I'll have Jason Strout with me, and JP should be with
Oh,
me as
St.
well.
Louis. Nice. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. And how's this one playing out? I think with your styles, I don't think this will be headed to the scorecards.
I'm it should be. I mean, usually most of my fights don't. Any of my fights that do go to the scorecards end up not going my way, so I'm hoping that it doesn't. But yeah, I mean, it should be an exciting fight. I plan on being in his face from start to finish, and I feel like if I can keep a good pace and you know kind of make him uncomfortable in there, I can impose my will and incite a lot of the scrambles and just hectic situations where I thrive, and eventually I'll catch him.
Do you think as well, like, does that add a bit more to this fight, knowing that he's never been submitted and you're sort of the submission king at 85?
I honestly didn't know that until you just brought it up, but I've submitted plenty of guys that haven't been submitted before, and you know, I don't have to submit somebody. It's just usually I try to beat them up as much as I can, and if you punch somebody enough times, they're gonna give you a submission. So that's if I had to guess, that's probably the way it'll go.
At the top of your division, obviously, we got the middleweight title fight, I think, a week before you. Dricus du Plessis, Israel Adesanya. How do you see that one going? Obviously, you're keeping tabs, I'm sure, in your division.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think that Izzy could be on the outside and pick shots and like keep distance well and possibly set something up. The problem is, unless Izzy just had a really off night, everybody watched that Strickland fight and was like, oh, if I'm just disciplined and stay down the middle, I can really make a big impact. And Dricus is that guy's a tank, and he fights, for better or worse, straight down the middle. And even though like from the outside looking in, and like I get people like, oh, he's gassed or tired. Like I think he just looks like that when he fights. Like I don't know that he's actually gassed. I think he just look, the way he moves just makes it look like he's tired, even though he's not. Kind of like how I always look like I'm half asleep, but I'm not really.
Right.
So I think if he uses his physicality, goes down the middle, maybe mixes in some takedowns, just again because he's so big and like just putting that weight on someone and that forward pressure. I think Dricus was probably going to ride that momentum and get it done unless Adesanya really does a good job of establishing range early. So that'll be the big question in that fight.
What do you think's more likely?
I would say Dricus
Okay.
is more likely.
How many more fights you have left in your UFC deal? I was trying to remember that.
This last one was a 6-fight deal, and this will be fight number 4.
Oh, cool. Okay, so you got a few left, which is always good. How's we sort of talked off the top about Belal. Who do you want to see him fight next? Is there like, do you like, obviously like you're not, it's not your division or anything like that, but just as a fan, is there any fight that you think would be cool, or do you think like two guys got to fight each other first and then maybe see who he fights next? Do you have like a preference?
I don't really have a preference. I just hope whatever, like, as his friend, I hope whatever fight they give him is like a huge fight, and he gets a bunch of pay-per-view buys. So if I was to have any influence on it, I would say give him Shavkat in Abu Dhabi as the main event, and he'll get all kinds of pay-per-view buys off that, and that'll be a crazy card.
I agree.
And then other than that, I guess you could have Shavkat fight JDM, but I feel like Shavkat kind of deserves it at this point.
Yeah, I'm glad you
And
brought that up because I've seen a lot of people say that Shavkat needs to do more, and I understand he only has what, like 3 ranked wins, but he's finished all those guys, right? Like he finished Jeff Neal, no one's finished Neal. He finished Wonder Boy. The only other guy to beat Wonder Boy is your buddy Anthony Pettis. Like to me, those are impressive enough, just as ranked wins, right?
Yeah, well, Bilal beat Wonder Boy too, but yeah, they're still like they're really high level wins. So I don't see a reason not to have Shavkat fight for the title whenever Bilal's ready. But I'm not a matchmaker, and I think you know having Shavkat fight for the belt, you can have JDM fight, Leon or Kamaru or somebody, like start mixing it up a little bit in the upper echelon of the welterweight division and start get some new blood in there, or at least give them a chance.
Yeah, I agree.
Or even have like JDM fight, if Gilbert gets past Sean Brady, which I think he will, then have him fight JDM if he's not too busy or something like that, and mix it up a little bit. But I would say Shavkat in Abu Dhabi, get all the pay-per-view buys, get all the money, and not only would people love that here, they would love that there too. So I think
big time. Yeah, I think that's the only time.
Huge fight.
I don't think we've ever had 2 Muslim fighters fight against each other for UFC title, so that would be kind of historic too, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't remember
again,
any.
I don't keep track of that kind of stuff.
No. It's just something I thought of, right? Because obviously they value that a lot, right? So.
I just mean stats in general. I just like, you told me that Shahbazyan never been submitted. I'm like, I don't know, man.
This is what I'm here for. I got to do this stuff. Otherwise I won't have a job. So I got to know, a thing or two, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what you do at welterweight. I agree with your idea of Shavkat and Belal. So you do Shavkat, Belal, you do Leon Edwards and Ian Gary, because they used to train together. There's some bad blood there. I'd like to see that. And then you do JDM and Usman. I think that solves everything.
Yeah. That all makes sense to me.
Yeah. There we go. Get my 10% from Sean Shelby or whoever's doing it. How's fatherhood? How's your little guy doing?
Oh, he's awesome. He's 3 now, so he's fully like aware of everything and talking a lot. And we got him swim lessons, and he's like legitimately swimming now, which is awesome. But because he's my son, he also has a dark sense of humor and will purposely like fake drown himself.
What? Really?
He's completely fine. Man. This kid, like, he knows how to keep his head above water, take a breath, like, he'll literally go, help, 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 and like, he's fine, and he can grab the edge and do whatever he needs to do, but he just wants your reaction. I'm like, would you please stop pretending to die?
Yeah,
because if it actually happens, I need to know.
So it's funny you say that. My youngest, my youngest and my oldest are completely different. My youngest is kind of like that. Like he doesn't have a dark sense of humor, but he gets mad. Like I had to take him to daycare this morning, and he threw dinosaurs at me. Like this is like we know. But my other son doesn't do that at all. Like he never did that when he was younger. If he got mad, he'd just get upset. But my son will actually like throw stuff. And so, and he's going to be turning 3 in September. So I can relate. It's a bit of a wild one, right? So.
Yeah, I don't post too much about like my family or whatever on.
Same here.
Media,
I have everything. I have a private Instagram account. I have a separate account for all my kids stuff because there's whack jobs out there, man. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, well, I was like, I have a video. I probably won't post it, but I have a video of my son's when I got the new UFC gloves. I didn't prompt him or tell him to do any of this stuff. He just put on the new gloves and immediately started punching me. Was going boom, boom, boom. I was like, all right, I guess this is somewhat genetic. That's cool.
There you go. Takes after his old man. Gerald, thanks so much for doing this. Anyone you want to thank before we get out of here? Any sponsors, any social media you want to mention? I'll give you the last word.
I appreciate everybody at Killcliff, my management team at Sucker Punch, Combat Corner, everybody that supported me. Love you guys.